Hey, everybody. Hey, we are going to go through some wireless security issues that are kind of happening around. And so I put together this document from the book, and you're going to have some matching questions, quizzes, a little exercise to go with it. So this is kind of more of an additional supplement to what's here for the class. It's a separate quiz. So let me go ahead and get started and share the screen. Bingo. Okay, so let me open up this. So we have the security readings, and then we'll have the challenge quiz, and there's even an extra credit challenge quiz as well. Okay, so the readings, let's go ahead and open this up. Again, this is nothing to purchase. Everything is here. It'll be self-contained. The various engineering issues. One is social engineering. So you're going to read about the different types of human-based social engineering when it comes to security, such as tailgating or piggybacking and shoulder surfing. Okay, some issues that we have to address in terms of mobile or computer-based, such as phishing or baiting, or scareware or ransomware, which is very prevalent and stuff. Okay, a little section here on endpoint communications. Okay, then after that, we're going to get into your AAA framework, which is your authentication, authorization, and then accounting. So again, authentication identifies users by credentials such as usernames and password. Authorization enforces the network to enforces network resources. You're authorized to do it. So we identify you, and then we say, yes, you are authorized to do it. And then accounting means we monitor and capture, the events across the network. Okay, so there's that information on your world. Okay. We address things like username and certificates, tokens, and SSH keys, and so on. And we have the authentication, the authorization. Okay, and then we get into things like denial of service attacks, right? That's a really big deal. Okay, you can have something from a disgruntled employee that says, I didn't get a pay raise, and so I'm going to see if I can launch a virus to overwhelm the mail server or the website and bring down so that nobody gets to get email or nobody can access the website. That's called a denial of service attack, or what we have sometimes referred to a distributed denial of service attack across multiple layers of a system. Okay, so DDoS, okay, or DOS, be able to talk about that. Okay, so denial service attacks. Okay, we have attacks that could be on the domain name, hijacking URL. We have the differences about DNS poisoning, okay, or DNS spoofing that's out there. Okay, so take a look at that. Data link layer, and we have address spoofing, like MAC addresses, which is, again, it can happen. It doesn't happen very often, but it can, where something can spoof your MAC address and try to get in. Again, I don't see that really happening necessarily here for your home environment. Somebody trying to spoof your MAC address to your security camera in the baby's room or whatever, baby monitors or whatever. But in a larger business, especially a larger corporation, that may be one way to infiltrate the system. Okay. We have a section there that talks about the man-in-the-middle attacks, okay, or man-in-the-browser attacks, and understand what that is and how that works and stuff in terms of an attack. Malware protections, hey, there's a lot of viruses that are out there and stuff. We need to run computer viruses. Less so, obviously, in the Linux world, okay. A lot of it is because Linux installs and OSs don't typically run in admin mode. They usually run in limited mode, and everything you want to do something as an administrator, you'll have to give the administrative password. Where in the Windows, probably 99% of most people running a Windows computer is running in administrative mode, except maybe if you're in a business or corporation or government, okay? But your home environment, it probably is. So, we need software programs to help protect our Windows environment, and we use antivirus programs and anti-malicious software, Malwarebytes or something like that, to help do that. We should be looking for ways to do disk hardening and stuff to try to protect our systems. We can add extra levels of encryptions to drives and files and so on, and that protects us a little bit further, right? So if somebody were to snag your file, they have to have the encryption. So we can talk about public encryption services, public private key, in that world. And then finally, it's always important to make sure you do your software updates. It doesn't do any good if you're not keeping your system updated, because there's always new viruses and new attacks on the way. And so you want to make sure your service packs and your OSs are always pushed and up to date and go from there. Okay, so we see those kinds of things. So that's the overall communications of what the security issues are there. Study that, read through that and stuff. And then when you're ready, there's a 25-question matching using a lot of the terminology and stuff from your security issues file here that I just went through. Okay. All right, I hope that helps. Have a good one. Don't forget to take the quiz. And again, there'll be a little extra credit 10-question quiz at the very end of that as well. You don't have to do that. It's extra credit, but hey, it's always nice to have a few extra points along the way. Let me go ahead and stop the share and I'll end the recording and you have a good week.